Hi, everyone. We are just going to give every one of our participants a few minutes to trickle in, and we will get started here in just a moment. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, thank you. We're all so excited to see all of you. If you just came in, we are just giving our participants just a moment to trickle in, and then we will get started. If you want, feel free to share your name, your business in the chat on this lovely Thursday morning. If you just come in, we are just giving our attendees a few more seconds to join and we will get started. Please feel free to share your name in the chat, a little bit about what you do. All right, we are going to get started. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome. My name is Rachel, and I am the marketing and communications person here at the Temple Small Business Development Center. The SBDC at Temple helps small businesses start, grow, and succeed. We do this through our no-cost consulting and a variety of no-cost webinars and training programs like the one that you guys are all attending today. You are joining us for International Trade Webinars for Spring 2023. This is our Go Global series. We will be recording today's session, and a copy of that recording and today's PowerPoint will be sent to all of our attendees within a few days in a follow-up email. All of our attendees have been muted, but we encourage you to post any questions you have in the Q&A. We'll be holding all questions until the end, but please feel free to post your questions as you have them, and then we will get back to them at the end. We have a big panel of presenters, 6 or 7 of them, so I am going to turn it over to them, and I hope you guys enjoy your webinar.
Thank you, Rachel, and welcome everyone. My name is Brent Rondon. I work at the University of Pittsburgh Small Business Development Center. I am the lead coordinator for the Pennsylvania State Small Business Development Center. So I want to give the welcoming to all of you to the Go Global Export Series. This is an effort of the Pennsylvania Small Business Development Center, the U.S. Commercial Service, the SBA Export Financing Program, and the State of Pennsylvania International Business Program. So we're delighted to have you here. This is a series, enjoy the program. And now I want to give the space to Blandine Chantepie-Carey from Temple University Small Business Development Center.
Thank you so much, Brent. Thank you, Rachel. Can we have the next slide, please? So as Brent was saying, it's a series. So we have another one next month. So actually in April. So we hope to see you then as well, and then in June. So today the agenda. Next slide. Today the agenda. We have a lot to share in less than an hour. So we're gonna be quick, and we will hope we will have following Q&A and following consulting sessions at no cost. So we're gonna overall see what we do at SBDC. Then we're gonna discuss quickly how to choose the right trade shows, how to maximize before going to a trade show. We're gonna give you some hands-on experience and hands-on tools to use matchmaking events. And then we're going to have all our export team, all our colleagues are going to present the different services available to you. So first, our first speaker and dear colleague, Maggie Horn, Director of Gannon University SBDC. Next slide, please.
Thank you. Next slide. Yep. Go ahead to the next slide. Thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to be here today and representing the entire network. So I get to talk to you and tell you about what the small business development centers do here in Pennsylvania and all across the US. It was founded, we are in our 42nd year in helping businesses start, grow, and prosper. We provide business consulting. We also assist with a lot of market research, which is definitely important, especially in international, to be able to know if it's a market that is going to accept your products and services, and all of the planning around it. And of course, training, just like our educational programming that we're doing with this series that you are here today. So we really provide a lot of assistance to businesses from startup to existing to growth, and even when transitioning maybe later in the life of your business. You can find your SBDC near you through our americassbdc.org website. It can tell you every center across the US. Next slide, please. As I stated, we have SBDCs all across Pennsylvania. We serve every county through SBDCs that are located at higher education institutions. I'm at Gannon, and as Brent told you, he is down at Pitt, and Temple is here represented as well on the call. And we have the various centers that are available to be able to serve the community, because all of our communities have different needs, and we have the resources that are able to help you. Next slide, please. So one-on-one consulting is what we do. There is no cost to work one-on-one with our experts, with our consultants. We also are able to bring in other consultants that may have the expertise that you are seeking, and that is done through confidential one-on-one consulting. We have a wonderful network of resources, as is on this call today, and we are able to provide those referrals and networking, as well as the programming that is very important for us to be able to have successful businesses. We all need to make sure that we have the appropriate funding and financing in place for all of our endeavors in small business, and we can assist you in identifying appropriate funding sources and preparing to present your proposal for funding. And we have a wonderful assortment of what we call centers of excellence that provide specialized services. And we'll talk about that in a second. Next slide, please. So these are our centers of excellence. They're all across the state: Clarion, Duquesne, Gannon, Lehigh, Penn State, Temple, Pitt, Scranton, and Widener. All of these centers of excellence provide specialized industry sector programs as well as services, and we will refer clients to other centers of excellence to assure that the businesses are getting the assistance they need from the experts that are at those centers of excellence. And today's program is part of the centers of excellence sessions and the programming around the international opportunities that are available to us. Next slide, please. And of course, market opportunities and international trade is something all businesses should consider to expand their market and continue to grow their business and be successful. And 95% of the customers in the entire world are outside the US. So it is very much a great practice to consider international, where internationally would be the best place for you to have your products and services, and utilizing the resources that are on this call today and are available through our referrals and networking. Next slide. There we go, Blandy.
Thank you so much, Maggie, just in time. So next slide. First, I'm gonna tell you how to choose a trade show. It can be so overwhelming, especially when you look at foreign markets, or even in the US. It's such a big country. It's hard to tell in advance it's going to be valuable or not, and it can be very pricey. First step, first advice, look at your competitors' websites and social media, your large competitors, and you will see where they go. Second, check with trade organizations like Life Sciences PA, for example, and a Bio International Organization if you're in life sciences. So check with the local organizations, ask them around, go to their networking, and they will tell you where they go. Third, there are some search platforms that I'm going to show you in a second. And then you have all of us around the table to help you validate, because some of us went to probably that trade show, if it's a trade show with international overseas, or here in the US with international audience. So the SBDC network, the World Trade Center, US Commercial Services, and so on, all of us can share our knowledge. And last, test. Now we have more and more hybrid virtual opportunities for matchmaking, and you show that in a minute. Or go as a visitor first, and especially if you can, join a delegation. The state of Pennsylvania, we have sometimes booths in some international trade shows, or the US Commercial Services. And I will show you some pictures of last month at the Consumer Electronics Show. Next. So here, for example, Bio International Conventions list the past participants of last year, so you can check if your competitors were there. Next. So here is Events EI. It's a big platform. It shows you way too many things, but it's a good start as well. And then to check with local partners. But from that website, you can find the events, but you cannot really tell if you should go or not. Next. So once you choose per industry and per country, you can see also the months when there are more events. So it can be very useful, and there are even local events listed. Next. So one other place I love, and my colleagues will concur, go on the trade.gov. It's great resource. You see also delegations at the US Commercial Services. So always go there to find what's going on and where the United States is represented, and where there are pavilions and delegations going. Next. So check, as I mentioned, all of us around, and also the local, I put the example of Life Sciences Pennsylvania, but the local trade organizations of your industry, talk to them, and they probably know some trade shows that they can recommend to you. Next. So this was at the CES last month. The US government had that great pavilion, and even invited some of their stars companies. So the company you see there, Startup Showcase, didn't pay to be having a booth for one day at the Consumer Electronics Show, and they organized meet and greets with potential buyers. So it's in the US, it's in Las Vegas, but you can meet international buyers at local events in the United States, and the government is here to help you for that. Next. So just CES is one of the largest events in the industry. We had more than 3,000 exhibitors, more than 100,000 people, and about 35% of them were international. Next. So this is like 1/5 of the whole floor, but where the booth you saw, you can see quickly there was Taiwan, a big Taiwanese delegation, huge French delegation. You see the Swiss. You can meet the world just by being at a show in the US. So hopefully it will inspire you to go to some trade shows to meet international buyers or potential partners as well, other SMEs who may be interested to co-sell your products. Next. So that was how to choose a trade show, and my colleague Janice is going to tell you a bit how to prepare before going to a trade show to maximize its benefits.
Oh, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm honored to be here with a wonderful group of my colleagues. So when you think about going to a trade show, you want to make sure that you develop that value proposition and that you can translate it and looking for your core customer. What you want to do is review international websites The biggest thing that I can tell you is that in other countries outside of the state of California, here in the US, you have to consider their privacy laws, the GDPR. So you also want to look for key trends, innovative ideas, and one of the best resources that you can have is IBS World. So we need to define our pricing for foreign markets. So if you're selling products, pay close attention to regulations, the duties and tax, customs, free trade agreements. This is where the U.S. Commercial Service can truly help you, as well as any of the delegations here in the state of Pennsylvania. You have to think a little bit out of the box. This isn't just selling a B2C product on Amazon. It's about international markets, shipping and returns and policies. So there's more to consider. The one thing that we need to think about is to get your website and social media ready for international clients. We want to look at your international traffic and where orders are originating. This is where a program like Google Analytics, Google is launching G4 but you'll have to move to that by the end of the summer. You also want to look at where those orders are coming from, and those analytics are going to show that. Even if you're currently just selling in the US, use analytics to help you know who is coming to your website, what they're shopping for, and where they want to move in the future. You can see times of days, especially if they're an international, they're coming 12 hours away. Are they in Europe? Are they in China? Data will help you to find that. And as I just mentioned a little bit earlier, cybersecurity and data protection, the GDPR, General Data Protection Regulations, is extremely important. Even the big guys out there, such as Google and all of the social media companies, have been fined by the European Union for violating the GDPR, so the General Data Protection Regulation. The U.S. Commercial Service will do a website analysis at a very small fee, and I'm sure they're going to talk about that so that we can make sure that you are up to standards. The other thing to remember is cultural language and e-commerce behaviors are different. Okay, I just want to talk a minute about what we can help you with here at Temple University and Pennsylvania SBDC. I am the program manager for Pennsylvania Digital Transformation and E-commerce program. With that program, we help small businesses throughout the state of Pennsylvania. We can help you with website development, and we do that through our group of wonderful computer science students at Temple University. We can also help you analyze your current website through audit programs, such as our search engine optimization report, social media audit and consulting, and our website audit that does include cybersecurity analysis of your current website. Now I'll turn it back over to the next speaker, Blondine.
Thank you so much, Janice. One last tip before going to matchmaking events. Before you think of going to matchmaking events, update your LinkedIn, because they are connected. Usually they will check your profile on LinkedIn before accepting your invitations for those virtual events. So we keep saying that it's a window, and not only about your company, but about yourself as well. So things at your LinkedIn, your personal LinkedIn being linked with your company, and having that updated with simple words, and sometimes you can even translate in different languages. You can have multiple languages pages if needed, especially for B2B, especially for virtual matchmaking events that we're going to present. Think of that. Next. So we're going to dive into matchmaking tools. If some of you had the experience to go to virtual or physical matchmaking events, feel free to chat, like mentioning the name of the show you went to. Today, we're going to just talk about 3 trade shows that we know very well. So the Bio International Convention, and they just did a little matchmaking event, hybrid matchmaking event around JP Morgan last month, and Hannover Messe and Smart City Expo were Germany in Barcelona. Next. Oh, I forgot one thing. We talk about matchmaking event, but sometimes in Europe or other countries, it can be called partnering, or it can be called brokerage event. So I put those 3 words to remember when you do some research. You may want to try the 3 words. Matchmaking events can be so powerful. They were prior COVID, and now they're really changing, and now they are hybrid. It gives the time to have longer trade shows, so you have the physical time and then you have the virtual time. It helps to prepare trade shows, so it's more work, but also that means you have a bigger return on your investment. Bio International Convention, who was in Philadelphia in 2019, if you remember, have been very famous for their matchmaking physical event, their bio partnering. And those are just the numbers. Can you picture more than 44,000 meetings in few days in person, with almost 4,000 companies coming? So a bit less than half of the participants of the convention are also on the partnering platform, and they come from 51 countries. And this year in January, they tried a pilot. They partner with that JP Morgan conference, which also in life sciences, a lot about raising money, and a lot of investors are there. So they launched a platform which was free for investors, and companies had to pay little. And they were able to get more than 5,000 meetings and 1,800 companies signing up. So it's a very, very powerful tool. Next. However, it comes at a price. At Bio, when you see compared to just attending the convention in person, it's an additional $1,000. But you can prepare, and you have access to the past participants. Next. Next slide. So here you can see all the past participants, and you can prepare in advance. However, I would recommend to hire an intern to help you work through that exercise of checking the different companies. Next. Another tool that could be of interest, because they are most of the time free, is B2Match events. And B2Match is a private platform that has been used by the Enterprise Europe Network, which is an international global network. Temple University is part of it. It's a bit like the SBDC network, focused on Europe, but they invited outside partners to join to help tech companies. So anything around innovation, they have events for it. So for example, the Enterprise Europe Network has 450 events in 2021, and almost 90,000 participants. And you can join them, and at Temple, that's a tool that will teach you to be able to meet at no cost potential partners and test your offer and see if there are, at some point, if you should go to those trade shows in person. Next. So Hannover Messe is one of the oldest industry fair that's been going on in Germany for 40 plus years. And now they have also that hybrid platform to have matchmaking events. So next. You can register at no cost and start networking. Most of the events on B2Match at no cost are up to $500. So it's really usually they are at no cost unless you're in person. So this we started last week. So if you want to sign up, you can still sign up. We are teaching companies and matching them with students to how to leverage the Hannover Messe matchmaking platform and get meetings with German, French, Italians, and other European potential partners. We're really focused on industry. Smart City Expo has the same platform, B2Match, the same model. However, they've changed their strategy, and my colleague Sebastian is going to talk about that in a second. Now they're moving to open innovation. They invite corporate who are stating their problems and their interest. They are also inviting cities. It's a smart city event, so they can propose some challenges. So it goes beyond just trying to find a distributor or potential clients. It's those matchmaking platforms helps to connect people who never have met and may not even have met at the conference in person if they didn't have a booth. You know, a city may not have a booth, a corporate may not want to have a booth, they may just send, you know, scouts. So those matchmaking events are very useful. I hope we get you excited about it. And I would like my colleague Sebastian to give us a little, you know, background. You've been involved with matchmaking events for 10-15 years, right, Sebastian? And if you can give us a little background of and where it's going, that trend of matchmaking events.
Thank you, Blandine. Thank you for inviting me, and hello, everyone. Yes, it really started with some tools that were offered to trade shows or complementary to trade shows, or usually private initiatives. It started with in the game space at GDC, Game Development Conference in San Francisco. They had a platform called Game Connection, and it was very successful. They would reserve a whole hotel, and it was definitely a full hotel, a lot of excitement. And so that showed that there was a need for this type of tools and events. And it showed that there are some industries that are really, really perfect for those type of partnering events. So the game space, like I said, so between the developers and the publishers. Then in the bio space, as Blandine explained, at the Bio International Convention, when you have the biotech companies who want to meet the pharma, and that's again same situation. So the one we develop who want to meet the big guys to license or for any type of commercial agreement all the way to an exit. So that also has been a very successful in that space. In terms of the trends, in Spain, we have been looking at what Catalunya has been developing, working on as an EN organization, and they've been really inventive. First, they invented a lot of new shows, like Smart City Expo was really came up out of Barcelona and has been quite successful, working very well with the US Commercial Service out of Madrid, and offering a brand new show that has been now the #1 show in the smart city space. And they came up with more and more partnering events that were, I would say, better put together in terms of in those industries where there is not that perfect paradigm of the one who develop, the one who buy. So if you look at other trade shows, it's not just about putting startups and SMEs together. They go way beyond. So they propose a platform for open innovation and digital transformation, where they bring the big buyers who express their interest, like their challenge, on the platform, and that gives a possibility for the smaller companies to be connected with those larger cons who organize themselves to express themselves and their needs on those platforms. So it's a trend. It's definitely something we wanted to share because it was, you know, that trend really now kind of changed the dynamic for everyone, including for the startups. And so that's what we wanted to share, and that's where now we are pushing more and more companies to look at those trade shows, but and those virtual activities, because as you understood, we're talking about the whole boom of virtual meetings really happened during COVID, when Zoom became Zoom, and when APIs have been offered, so Zoom-like APIs have been offered to those platforms to be able to organize meetings like they did, but also being able to, with one button, to create that virtual experience. So as you understood before with WebEx and Skype, that were great platforms, but they were not, they could not be integrated. They were proprietary. You could not just click a button and it was working. You remember all the experience we had. Well, that changed, and that gives an amazing opportunity for anyone who want to participate at any trade shows to be there without being there, no expense, and be very, very efficient on the targeting, on the objectives. Obviously, you need preparation, like was explained a little earlier, and you need a follow-up. So that needs a little planning, but that's why we're here, and that's why we wanted to share our experience. Thank you, Blandine.
Thank you, Sebastian. And I don't know if you remember, during the pandemic, the US Commercial Services had their own matchmaking events, and I hope they're going to launch some new soon. But so hopefully we got you excited. I'm actually, our next speaker is from the US Commercial Services. Nassim, tell us a little bit more of what's coming up and what trade shows we should look for.
Thank you so much, Blandine, and it's so nice to be surrounded by such wonderful resources in our community. Next, please. My name is Nassim Saad Falla. I'm an international trade specialist with the U.S. Commercial Service, and I'll let you know a little bit about what we do, but really I want to focus on some of the shows that are coming up and some of the missions and the mission stops that you just heard a little bit about. Next, please. So what the U.S. Commercial Service is and does is we are part of the International Trade Administration that falls under the federal U.S. Department of Commerce. We are put here to guide you and be your one-on-one consultant, per se, to create your international expansion goals. We do that with expert counseling, market intelligence, business matchmaking, and commercial diplomacy. And our goal is to increase U.S. jobs, but by creating advanced international trade. Next, please. One way we do this is through expert counseling. Like I said, we're your international business development partner, and this is one-on-one counseling based on your business and your specialization. Each one of us trade specialists specialize in specific industries, so we really are connected and know what's going on in your industry to be able to provide those strategic approaches that are more guided towards your specific needs. Additionally, we have an e-commerce innovation lab that we will get into a little bit further. Next, please. Market intelligence is a great way to learn more about what's going on with a country without having to go to the country. So one way we do that is with our country commercial guides. Our offices are in the United States. We have about 100 of them. And then we work with our colleagues overseas that are inside of embassies and consulates. In any area that there's not a specific U.S. commercial person, we work with the Department of State. They are the boots on the ground for us, and they create country commercial guides. They also do initial market checks for you based, again, on your specific company, customized market research, and international company profile searches. Next, please. Business matchmaking, and we've heard some great examples of what some of our partners do. Some options that you have with us is a single company promotion where we take you in country and we promote your specific country to partners that would be interested, or governmental entities. Also, we have featured U.S. exporter listings, which is held at U.S. commercial service websites for the U.S. exporters. This is very targeted to when a client calls us and says, I need XYZ, we then provide your information. We do international partner searches. This is great because literally you don't have to go there. We connect you with 5 possible partners that have shown interest in your product or service, and then we connect you one-on-one to meet with them to see if there's any interest. Also, we have the business service provider listing. You can kind of read a little bit about that. And then the Gold Key service, which seems to be the most popular. It was on hold during the, unfortunately, during the pandemic. So we did more of a virtual Gold Key service, but we're now up and running, in which we take you to country and you meet at the embassy or consulate, up to 5 pre-screened appointments, and you establish the relationships from there. Next, please. Commercial diplomacy, we have an advocacy center that works very hard in showcasing U.S. business services and goods to other governmental entities to know that we are here and we're here to showcase our products. And it really helps with some of the competitions that we sometimes deal with internationally. Also, we have trade dispute resolutions, and you can please report any trade barriers as we take that to of great importance to make sure that we report that up the chain to create any type of releases for some of these barriers. Next, please. Now, what we're all here for, wonderful trade events. I always say I wish our political spectrum was more how it is at trade shows. I think it's a great avenue to meet, to connect, and to really get to know each other on a layer and a level that you can't do in any other place. One way that we host trade events is something called Trade Winds. Currently, we're focusing on a Southeastern Asia Trade Winds. It's customizable to your company. We will be going to Vietnam, Philippines, and Singapore. And there's a large conference in Thailand, and then other what we call mission stops in Malaysia and Indonesia. Here we create one-on-one meetings with diplomats from over 20 different countries, plenty of networking. And again, you're supported by the Department of Commerce. Additionally, we have an amazing global diversity export initiative that we have showcased in the past 2 years. It's managed by my colleague Terry Batch, who does an amazing job. And they just created a mission to South Africa, Ghana, and Nigeria in August 6th to 15th. This is currently in a rolling option, so you can go in, put in your request that you want to be part of that, and then they do the whole vetting process. Also, this will be meetings with the World Bank Minority Business Outreach, so it's a great way to connect with our GDEI initiative. And then Discover Global Markets, which is a business networking forum. It brings international buyers, foreign ministers, and diplomats all to one location where your company will learn about market opportunities. And then additionally, what Blandine filled us in at various trade shows held by industry, we host and showcase your company to foreign delegates and create one-on-one meetings, also with our colleagues at various embassies and consulates that are there to meet with you. I did put in a link that will take you right to our website that gives you even more specifics on which we've already heard so much of today, is how to prepare and what to bring and how we can assist you in any of those. Next, please. E-commerce, so this is really became even more important during the pandemic, is really focusing our initiatives on how to support your e-commerce needs. Next, please. Here, the biggest piece of it, and I'm going to talk about this on the next one, 2 slides from now, but really we do some website reviews, social media reviews, how to find distributors for your products and service in country, and then what your online marketplace looks like. Next, please. So third-party in-country distributor, this is where our organization can help you connect with partners in country. This is where they will be your eyes and ears. They're on the ground. It's a lot less expensive. Sense of distribution, it makes a lot more sense. They can house your products in country. And then additionally, they already have local SEOs and they're already established in the market of interest. And we do that by finding you the partners in which show interest in your product line. Next, please. So this is a website globalization review. This really took off, and like one of our partners stated, it is fairly inexpensive. For about $100, our colleagues will look through your whole website, every piece of the puzzle, every page, and go through how it looks on an international marketplace and what areas you need to focus on to be able to create more of an international or globally needed website. It's very specific. You get full reports, you get guidance on where, how, and what to increase or make less. Also, some translation issues that might come up. It's very in-depth. Next, please. This is your local export team. Like I said, we all specialize in specific industries, so you can get a little bit more of who we are and what you need here. And always our director, Tony, is there to guide you if you don't find the specifics of your needs here. Thank you so much, Blandine.
Thank you, Nassim. And as you can see, we're really complementary. And you may get overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, there's so much resources and how I'm going to pay for it. We have our dear colleague, Ed, who is going to tell us how you can finance all of that. Thank you, Ed, for
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Good morning, everyone. And just like Blendine said, now you've, backtrack. You've got a great team here, great source of, great resources for A to Z, whatever you need for international. So in the interest of time, I'm going to present what the SBA provides in terms of export financing, but I'm also going to explain a little bit about how our financing can really fit that trade show approach that you need. And just a footnote, before I joined the SBA a little over a year ago, I worked for 2 major banks, and I used to travel a lot to trade shows, both in the US and mostly in Mexico and Brazil. And believe me, the trade shows are an excellent source of contacts, getting to know people, and your company getting exposed in the international market. But there's a few things that you need to know as well, and I'll get there in a minute. So as we mentioned before, 95% of consumers live outside the United States. 98% of exporters are small businesses. Hey, you can be, 2-person operation to a 30, 40, 100% operation. Small businesses, important to know there are resources for you. Next slide, please. I like this slide because when you're doing business overseas, you kind of have to put yourself also in the foreign buyer's shoes. You have to understand their risk versus your risk. And this slide really kind of shows how, who bears the risk. And if you understand what your foreign buyer's risk is, that's good, because then you know how to tailor that product, that financing for both of you. And one of the products that I think is super important, uber important for an exporter, small, medium, or large, is credit insurance. Even though I'm not going to talk about it, but if you would like to talk about it offline, just please feel free to give me a shout. Next slide, please. So these are the 3 core SBA export programs. These are 3 programs that really help support not just a small business, but your bank, your lender, because it's the lender that ultimately is going to give you the money. So if we can help that, if we can enhance your credit worthiness, that's what we're here for. And we have 3 programs that are a mix of term loans, if you need to buy equipment, real estate, or what have you, or if you need working capital, you need to fulfill that order, you need to buy widgets, you need to buy inventory, we have those programs. And the 3 programs, as I said here, one is Export Express. That's a small working capital line. It's up to $500,000. It can be used for working capital, and it can be used for equipment purchases. You need to buy a $30,000 piece of equipment. Bingo, you've got this little Export Express. And the nice thing about this, what we come in, we don't finance you. We just provide the support to your lender in terms of a guarantee. As you can see, up to $350,000. We're going to tell the lender, we'll give you a 90% guarantee. What does that mean? That means that they can take maybe they're they're sitting on the fence saying, well, should we lend to ABC companies? Should we not? We can get a government wrap. Bingo, we can do it. The next program is a little bit bigger. It's called the Export Working Capital Program. It's up to $5 million. It's more for those exporters that have either a big order to fulfill or have many orders. They're constantly doing export. Maybe 30-40% of their revenues is exporting, and it's all based on working capital. And our third program is really a term loan. This is a really interesting program. It goes up to $5 million, and you can buy equipment. You need to refinance some high cost debt and so forth. But I think what's really neat about this program as well is that you can buy a business. If you're looking to buy that business down the street to complement your exports, that's what this program is all about. And these are similar programs to what the domestic programs have of SBA. So what I wanted to just show you with these 3 programs, that hey, there's programs out there for you. Don't, just because you're small, don't think you don't have anything available. I work with you. I'm located here in Pittsburgh, but I cover the state of Pennsylvania. So we're all here for you. I mean, it's just so neat to see, we work all together. You know, if Bladine gets somebody that thinks that could use financing, it comes to me. So next slide, please. So indirect export. So I don't, you know, without knowing the profile of the companies that are on this call, but let's say, for instance, you sell to a company in Philadelphia that sells internationally, but you don't sell internationally. You don't export, but you sell to a company that exports. That's considered an indirect export. You qualify for that. So it's the supply chain. If you're part of that international supply chain, you can have access to these programs. Next, please. So these are just examples. I'd like to go over them, but I think it's important just so you understand what programs fit your trade show approach. So we have two programs. This Export Express program, the smaller version of working capital, this is your program because it goes up to $500,000, and it's really the term that we use for Export Express to describe it is the export activity. Hey, if you want to do a trade show and it costs you want to exhibit in a trade show and it costs $30,000, hey, get a Export Express loan. You go to the bank and you request it. You want to do some upgrade your website. Here we have this program, this loan program. So for you going to a trade show, Export Express is probably your best bet. And it could be trade shows in the US and like the Hanover Messe and so forth, Germany, France, wherever you go. So as long as it has an international appeal to it. For instance, next month, there's ConExpo. If you're in the construction industry, that's your trade show. And it's in Las Vegas, and I've been there, you know, it's every 3 years. I've been there many times. And if you don't know that there's a trade show going on in Las Vegas, you think Las Vegas is under construction because there are cranes all over the place, towers. I mean, it's amazing. 100,000 people attend from all over the world. A lot for Latin America, where Hanover Messe, which is going to happen the same year, is more for the European market. Anyway, next slide, please. So these are just some examples that when you get this, when you get the presentation, you can look it over and see if you fit that the mold. So next slide. So this is also for the international trade loan. So one more program I just want to say before we go, before I pass it on. It's called the Global Access Program. That is it's a grant up to $10,000. It's administered through the state of Pennsylvania. You have to apply for it. It's for reimbursable expenses. Trade shows, big. Unfortunately, the state of Pennsylvania is already at its capacity because it's such a popular program. You would probably, if you do apply for it, you would go through, you'd probably be put on the waiting list. But it's a really good program. If you need any information on that program, I can send it to you. Just shoot me an email and I'll be glad to send it to you. But, you know, in the interest of time, I just wanted to present what we have to offer. And again, there's a lot of other programs out there as well. And look at us, the team here, as the international ecosystem of how you know, if you have any questions or comments. Next slide. I think that's it. Oh, okay. These are just some, you know, some examples of the industries that we find are programs that are most attractive. Of course, manufacturing, wholesale trade, construction, professional transportation. So these are just to give you an idea, you the participant, an idea of what our programs are attractive for, and so that you can put yourself in that position as well. And the next slide is the same. So just our different program. Next slide. There you go. I'm available anytime. You know, give me a shout. Blandine's all yours.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much, Ed. So
Thank
you
you.
saw what SBDC can do for you. You've seen what the federal government can do for you, SBA and US commercial services. But what you may not know is how lucky we are to be in Pennsylvania and about our regional export network paid by your tax dollars. You have access to an amazing network who can help you at no cost. And our dear friend and colleague, Dale with the World Trade Center, is going to tell you a little bit more about this program. Dale?
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining. Yes, I'll introduce myself. I'm the International Trade Specialist here at the World Trade Center of Greater Philadelphia. I cover Philadelphia, Bucks, and Montgomery County here in southeastern Pennsylvania. The World Trade Center of Greater Philadelphia is the Regional Export Network, or REN partner for southeastern Pennsylvania, which also includes Chester and Delaware counties. So I have another colleague, Ron Drews, that covers that. but have 9 other regional partners around the state. So just like the SBDC network, you link up with by county, which is your local regional export network partner, because not only do we do one-on-one counseling and a lot of the other work that the U.S. Department of Commerce does for all 50 states. Obviously, we're doing it for Pennsylvania only, which is an advantage in some cases, or we partner with them for places that Pennsylvania doesn't cover, or we use our World Trade Center Association network, which also is in many major cities, over 325 cities around the world, covering almost 100 countries at this point as well. So lots of good ways to get access to folks on the ground to do, whether it's your market research and your agent distributor searches, but definitely specific help for you through the state or the commercial service or other independent trade missions and trade shows. The state of Pennsylvania every year does the world's largest medical services and equipment show in Dusseldorf, Germany every November. So obviously that's a good way to have a small booth at a much lower cost than attending and exhibiting on your own. So take advantage of that at trade shows where that's possible in the U.S. booth, like the U.S. Department of Commerce does, or through Pennsylvania's booths at some of the trade shows that it does. At this point, the state is not doing as many booths at trade shows because of COVID. Obviously, people were limited on where they could exhibit and travel. So virtual and hybrid trade missions have gotten a little bit more popular as of late. But as the gentleman from SBA was mentioning about the Global Access Program, that is designed in conjunction with the SBA. In Pennsylvania, it's called the GAP, Global Access Program grant. We mentioned up to $10,000. It's a matching 75%, 25% grant to help offset your expenses, especially for trade shows and trade missions overseas. But every REN partner administers their program differently. The problem is we could use a lot more money in that program. It already by the first week of January, the state had already allocated and all of the money from the grant for this fiscal year. So high demand, and unfortunately the waiting list now is probably approaching somewhere between 40 and 50 companies with new applications coming in every day. So at this point, that's the bad news. Good news, hopefully we'll get additional money for next year's grant. I know they're already in the process of either asking for additional funds for this year and or putting in an application in for next year's grant. So other states call that the STEP State Trade Export Expansion Program, but here in Pennsylvania we call that GAP. The state of Pennsylvania does have currently 13 overseas authorized trade representative offices covering 44 countries presently. So doing the on the ground work at trade shows to help set up appointments for you, whether it's with potential agents or distributors or doing background checks. All of that work can be done before the trade show on a no cost basis. Obviously your expenses start coming once you travel and or exhibit at the trade show. But at least if if and when there is gap money available, it does not cover airfare and food, but it does cover your booth costs and or your local lodging and or local transportation costs, such as even translations in some cases. We're also launching a new program for women and minority-owned businesses. You heard about the Department of Commerce new diversity program going to several countries in Africa. The World Trade Centers Association has their General Assembly in Ghana in April with, there'll be several thousand people there, as well as many African heads of state. So that's a great networking and matching up opportunity, both virtual with electronic matchmaking, as well as the face-to-face matchmaking opportunities with different trade partners from different countries all over Africa. And finally, I'll just mention our Selling to the World new program that will be, like I said, targeting women and minority-owned businesses for export training. And we're working with a number of global diversity partners here in the region and currently accepting applications for that program. It's a series of 3 full-day export training classes, and then going on from there with mentors and counseling, really trying to get more women and minority-owned businesses into the export field and learning about international business and expanding their businesses here to create jobs locally. And lastly, I'll say we're happy to just be able to announce that our Global Business Conference is going to be at Temple University this year on April 19th for all of you that hopefully can attend. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dell, and thank you to all our panelist speakers. I think you've seen we're a tight, a tight group. We love working with each other, so there is no wrong door to knock at. Really, don't worry. Just one of us will find the right place for you to start. We just have few minutes left for 1 or 2 questions. We started to answer in the chat. Bella, if you have more questions, let us know. Jancy as well. But we have just time for 1 or 2 questions if you want.
And while you're all submitting your questions, I am going to be posting a link to a 4-question survey about today's webinar. We really value your feedback and we use it to improve our events in the future. This is also a requirement of our funders so that we can continue offering no-cost workshops. So please take the time, it's very, very quick, to fill out that survey and feel free to post a few more questions in the chat.
I see in the chat, Brent is talking about the Fancy Food Show. Yes, it's a very international show. If you're in the food business in New York, you should definitely go there. So Bella is asking if we're helping to connect with school and colleges as well. So it's a good question. At SBDC, we can make some recommendations. We have also some tools that we can use, like Compass, and send you databases for the US. And as Nassim presented, they have also tools and databases for international markets. So for Canada, for example, which could be a great target for you, the US Commercial Services have those type of services as well. Edward, I think it's a great question. About import, you may want to contact your SBDC. In general, there are less help for import. However, there are great resources on trade. On trade.gov website, and we have a 101 import-export YouTube video on our on Temple SBDC. You can check it, and we can direct you to the different resources. So there are some help online, and we can help you as well at SBDC. will be.
Landine, if I can add to the
Yes.
import question, we do guide a lot of our clients that are looking for imports to Dale's organization, to the World Trade Center.
Oh, as well.
They,
Oh, perfect.
they tend to be able to guide more on those side of things.
I'm
Yes,
learning
thank you.
something every day, so great to know that.
All right, thank you all again for joining us. I want to say a special thank you to all of our presenters for this fantastic presentation. As a reminder, all of the information will be emailed to you in a few days in a follow-up email. You'll receive a copy of this presentation as well as a recording of the webinar so that you can rewatch and digest. Thank you all so much. Have an absolutely wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone.